Hi. Let's talk about The Hitcher from 1986. This is director Robert Harmon's first feature film. I haven't seen any of his other ones. Perhaps I should. This was written by Eric Red, who apparently also wrote Near Dark and Bad Moon, which he also directed. I really like those movies. I've also seen 100 Feet, which I don't remember much about. I don't remember it being too bad. That was a long time ago since I've seen it. Anyway, in The Hitcher, C. Thomas Howell plays Jim Halsey, who's driving someone else's car to San Diego. He needs to get there for some undisclosed reason. It doesn't matter. C. Thomas Howell is the one who really carries this movie on his shoulders. His job is to sell the menace of the antagonist, and he does it perfectly. This is a really, really demanding role for someone so young. He can't have been older than 19 when this was filmed. Of course, he'd already proven himself in E.T., the fucking Outsiders, Red Dawn, some really high profile movies, wouldn't you say? But this is a point in his career where the movie kind of hinges on his performance. This is his character's journey through a harrowing, horrifying experience. Fear, anger, frustration, desperation, exhaustion. I can read all of it on his face, in his body language. He does an excellent job. Excellent. Excellent. Jim Halsey doesn't go it alone for too long, as he is joined by a supporting character, Jennifer Jason Leigh's Nash, through a chance encounter when Jim is calling the cops for help. She's convinced that Jim is not a killer when the cops start suspecting him of the various murders going around. Nash is pretty charming with her southern drawl and her initial sarcastic attitude. She's in the movie for a good while. They don't really make her out to be an outright love interest for Jim, but perhaps a potential one. She's important to the plot for giving Jim his final nudge towards the final confrontation with this terrifying figure who just keeps tormenting him and framing him for several murders. He can't keep getting away with it. The Hitcher, known as John Ryder, played by Rutger Hauer. The late Mr. Hauer gives a truly magnetic, fucking mesmerizing performance here. There's some electrifying, completely unpredictable quality to how his character acts and behaves. He looks at Jim like he's amused by his reactions, his fear, his desperate attempts to escape and resist him. There's also a lot of humor to how he interacts with Jim, to where it becomes tragicomic, especially in the diner scene. My favorite, I think. You know the one if you've seen it. The Hitcher just revels in Jim's agony. You can read so many things on Rutger's face there. He is amazing in this role. And this is the first movie I ever saw him in when I was a kid, and probably much too young to be watching this kind of movie. This is really the performance that already cemented Rutger Hauer as one of my favorite actors. Then, years later, in my late teens, I finally saw Blade Runner for the first time, where he delivered yet another absolutely captivating performance. I actually think I actually think there are some similarities between these two roles and how Mr. Hauer performs them. But where Roy Batty's unhinged behavior in Blade Runner is born out of desperation and rebellion against his creator, out of existential dread, John Ryder in The Hitcher is the existential dread. But the characters have similar ways of reveling in their violence, toying with their prey, observing and studying them. Even the part of being amused by them is found in both characters. John Ryder's character is also very sensual in his self-expression, shall we say. Much like Roy Batty, but where Roy is most likely trying to enjoy and savor his final moments of his brief life through whatever drastic measures he can, Ryder feeds and thrives on another person's fear to a higher extent. Because not only will he mutilate and kill you, he will also molest you. Now, I'm not going to say the Hitcher is a queer-coded movie. That's the kind of ideological social studies newspeak that's emerged in the past 15 years. I'm not a fan of that. There is, however, an undeniable implication of a sexual invasion of another man's personal space, to where the homosexuality is an overtone more than an undertone in at least two scenes. Now, whether Ryder does it just for fun, to further upset and terrify his prey, or whether he's really attracted to Jim, does that really fucking matter? He's molesting the guy and threatening him with extreme violence. This is not a typical example of your average garden variety homosexual, you know? This is rather some Jeffrey Dahmer shit. Also, it doesn't look like the Hitcher exclusively molests men either. So, maybe academics, essayists, and journalists might want to look for queer representation literally anywhere else. Okay, enough of that. There's also a theme of self-destruction to John Ryder's character. He's constantly provoking Jim to stop him, to kill him, point the gun right here, and squeeze the trigger. He's even further sort of externalizing his own will to die by making his victims say they want to die. So maybe he's suffering in some weird, also probably supernatural way, where maybe he's already been doing this for a long time and wants to call it quits finally. Sure, parallels can be drawn to the devil roaming the earth, waiting for the final judgment, I guess. There are better mythologies than the Judeo-Christian one. That's just the first and most basic place for Western storytellers to go. So maybe they have drawn from that. Who knows? I am so happy it remains a mystery in the movie, though. If they'd done some reveal at the end where they're like, nah, he's actually Satan, I'd be hella mad. Hella. If I had to pick one of these two Hauer performances I've been comparing, Roy Batty or John Ryder, why do I do this to myself? I think he has a stronger overall presence in The Hitcher, because the entire movie revolves around him being this awful supernatural fucking menace. Whereas in Blade Runner, Roy Batty's the leading figure of the resistance, sure, but we generally know what his kind are capable of. We learn very early on what he is. And for the most part, he's the one being hunted down. He often manages to reverse his role in that game, that's true. But I think ultimately I'm going to have to go with John Ryder being my favorite. He leaves such a powerful impression from his very first appearance, whereas Roy Batty's impact and personality grow towards the end of his movie quite significantly. As a result, Roy Batty's character is for sure developed much more throughout his movie, but I think I find the continuing mystery of John Ryder endlessly intriguing. Simplicity with hints of complexity works great together with fear of the unknown. Of course, my opinion on this is subject to change in the future. Maybe the very next time I watch one of the various cuts of Blade Runner again, I'll like Roy better. I'm also partial to his role in Paul Verhoeven's Flesh and Blood. That's a great movie. Okay, enough about Mr. Hauer. Regarding the supporting cast, when rewatching this after many years, I didn't remember Jeffrey DeMunn was in this. He plays the police captain. You might recognize Jeffrey from the early seasons of The Walking Dead, where he played Dale, one of my favorite characters on that show. A show which overstayed its welcome by at least 4 seasons and several spin-offs that no one fucking asked for, but that's beside the point. Read the comic books. Jeffrey's really good in this movie. His character makes some intuitive decisions, and he's not just a dumb, bullheaded steamroller to hinder the main character's efforts. He has more humanity to him. Another thing I also didn't remember, I didn't remember there being so many long car chases. There's a point where cop cars start piling up to where it's starting to look like fucking Blues Brothers or something. All right, I am exaggerating. It doesn't get nearly as crazy as that. They don't drive through a mall or anything. Carrie Fisher doesn't show up with a bazooka. But the chase scenes in this are really well done. And they are, this is really important, they are well communicated. I could tell where each vehicle was, whether one was catching up to another. I could tell where someone was aiming their gun and what they were hitting with it. I know this sounds like basic sightline conveyance bullshit, but you'd be surprised how many movies with even considerably higher budgets than this just cannot film or edit these kinds of scenes in a way that makes any sense to the viewer. These chase scenes are where most of the very limited budget probably went, and they really make the most of it here. They even went through the trouble of including POV shots from the back of a car being rammed by another's bumper. They use a helicopter as a jump scare, and it's really well done. There's some really good carnage here. Cars are flipping in the air. It looks awesome. Apparently, Mr. Hauer also did a lot of his driving stunts himself. That's pretty cool. He didn't have to do that. Of course, those scenes weren't the ones with the cars flipping around in the air and shit. But he got to do some cool ones too. The mysterious nature of John Ryder is further enhanced by the overall atmosphere and look of the movie. The first time he shows up, it's nighttime, and there's this severe thunderstorm going. Rain is just pouring down with the buckets. This was shot in the desert parts of, I think it was California, Texas, and Nevada. These arid wastes are so well utilized in the movie and included in so many wide shots with the characters and cars looking like tiny dots somewhere in there. Uh, it really emphasizes the isolation and helplessness of the characters. No one is coming to help you. Even the cops will not help you. The filmmakers have stated that they had several moments where the local weather miraculously cooperated with them by either enhancing the mood they were already going for or by creating these additional moments of reflection and or revelation, moments where a cloud moves away to reveal the sun at a pivotal point in a character's mentality, or rain suddenly stops when the sun is just about to rise at a point where danger has just been narrowly avoided. You know, those kinds of moments, though extremely lucky shots, enhance the cinematic quality and impact of these scenes quite significantly, where they really wouldn't work the same way in different weather and lighting conditions. I watched the recently released Second Sight 4K version, and it looks great. They didn't try to get rid of all the noise. You can still see the grain. There is a significant amount of detail and clarity pulled from those grains. The colors look great. Contrast is great. Most of the movie happens during daylight, but the night shots are appropriately really dark, and the blacks are indeed very black. Nice job. Nice. This is getting my vote for easily the best looking version of the movie available. This is the one. I've seen the limited edition box set also from Second Sight. It looks fucking awesome. It's got this really stylish artwork. They put the script in a small book and a bunch of interviews and a bunch of interviews in another bigger hardcover. It's like 200 pages or something. There's some art cards. I don't think there's a poster. I would really like one. I'll have to get one elsewhere, but otherwise, that's one of the coolest releases I've seen of any movie. Regarding the music, this is one of Mark Isham, one of his early film scores. He started making them in the early 80s, I think, 83 or something like that. His score for this movie is kind of sparse, and it focuses more on tone, enhancing the overall atmosphere rather than giving specific moments their own themes or anything like that. I think it works really well. Of course, the chase scenes have more adrenaline pumping beats to them, but most of the score is very somber and contemplative. I really like it. Okay, final thoughts. Finally, The Hitcher is a moody, very atmospheric, horror-tinged psychological thrill ride through hopeless, arid wastes. Rutger Hauer is supernaturally mesmerizing, and the rest of the main cast really sell his menace. I am still a huge fan of this movie, possibly even more so than before. The script is really tight. It's really tightly focused. There is no B plot anywhere. You are stuck with the main character's plight for the whole thing. It's such an effective movie with zero extra fat. I'm gonna have to give this a 9 out of 10. This is a true classic right here. So Does this mean I'm gonna have to review the direct-to-video sequel and the remake? You know, maybe John Ryder had the right idea. I think I actually might want to die. Alright, bye. See you in the reviews of those two disasters. Oh man.